for Friday, February 13th, 2015. We talk about that crazy Asteroids announcement, Delver, and we ask you about your biggest in-game screw-ups. Welcome to the 93rd level. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm David Meisman.
I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. This is number 93, continuing the march to 100. Imagine my surprise when I woke up this morning or checked Facebook. For the purposes of the show, for the fiction, let's say, woke up and saw an amazing rendition of the Level logo done in Lego.
Yeah, I flipped my shit. It was awesome.
Yeah. So this was done by our friend Allison Baker over at Lego Dark Souls, who has done some Bonfireside chat art for us with the old Lego stuff. And yeah, that was a delight. So it's now featured on our Facebook page, and that actually kicked me into gear to start a Duckfeed Tumblr, which is at duckfeed.tv.tumblr.com, because sometimes stuff like this happens, and it's like, I can tweet it, and I can do all this stuff, but I'd like to have it there in a blog for posterity, so it is on there. Yeah.
It's
nice.
like a Twitter photo book.
Kinda, yeah. I don't know how this works.
What's the internet, guys?
I'm only vaguely familiar. Like, okay, so Tumblr is where you go to look at, like, black and white pictures of pretty ladies, and also there's this one Tumblr that I really like that is nothing but pictures of mirrors that are being sold on Craigslist.
Also, spookyskeletons.tumblr.
Oh yeah, Spooky Skeletons. So I'm aware of it from that. I used to have a Tumblr that I updated regularly, but that was just kind of like, oh, here's a music video that I liked, and I stopped after I started repeating the music videos that I like.
Wait, what is it? Duckfeed.tv.tumblr.com?
It's duckfeed.tv.tumblr.com.
Oh, sorry, I spelled Tumblr like you actually spelled Tumblr. That's why it wasn't going through.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. You have summoned the fell gods. Yeah, with your superfluous ease.
Nice.
You need to spell it not the way it's actually spelled, but the way it can be trademark spelled.
Yep. Fanciful. Yeah, so thank you so much to Allison for that. That is delightful. I don't know. Is there anything else that we're that we have going on the march to 100?
I don't think I've got some ideas that I'll share with you guys off air.
Okay.
But
yeah, we got to keep a lid on that heat. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, the heat will escape. I don't want to be responsible for dispersed heat. Yep. Everything is chaos, and we're all on an inexorable march to the grave. Enjoy this momentary diversion. So, yeah, we've got the usual kind of show for you tonight. A little bit of news, a little bit of multiplayer, and a little bit of things we've been playing. I see no reason to prolong the overture, so why don't we get started with The Brief, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games. Hey, guys, can I tell you something that's really stupid?
sure.
Yeah. So imagine my surprise today. Not when I wake up to see a delightful Lego version of our logo, a Lego logo, if you will. But that
Lego logo.
Oh gosh, sorry. I got really upset there for a second. Anyway, no. So you remember like last year when Atari announced that they were going to bring back a bunch of their old franchises, mm-hmm. and they had Haunted House, Alone in the Dark. I was interested in those. And Asteroids was on there, which was real weird. Atari's tried to do this, like in the PlayStation area. They had like gritty 3D reboots of classic arcade games. Didn't really take, but who knows? Turns out that the Asteroids take isn't going to be a space shooter where you are on a vector screen and rotating and accelerating, doing the little wraparound and shooting UFOs. No, Asteroids, the Outpost, is going to be it's going to be Minecraft in space. Yep. Yeah, so going from rocks to riches in this 3D open world sandbox style survival game.
Isn't
More
Minecraft
buzzwords.
Space already basically the summary for Starbound?
No, Starbound is Terraria in space, my friend. So you could say that
and Terraria is Minecraft with gameplay.
Terraria
So, I
is
mean,
2D.
Isn't there like the transitive property of Minecraft?
No. So Starbound is it is the 2D version of Asteroids Outpost.
Okay, I can live with that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna save the kicker for this and what I think is the actual conversation. I'm gonna put it behind this awesome piece of CEO press talk, which is Asteroids is one of the most iconic titles in Atari's portfolio of more than 200 games and franchises, and we're looking forward to ushering the game into today's digital gaming era.
I'm just imagining him pausing and doing like a line of coke,
Yep.
then throwing, like wiping his ass with $100 bills.
I am a golden god. We're paying homage to the original Asteroids by incorporating classic features such as asteroid blasting capabilities while introducing a completely new premise to the gameplay. Asteroids Outpost will appeal to both fans of the classic Asteroids as well as enthusiasts of immersive survival games and expansive MMOs. Yeah.
This is why I avoid the marketing department at my company.
Yep.
Sorry, Dennis.
Don't worry, we'll find you.
You can also say you're sorry to me because I'm a part of the machine, even though I hate it. Yes, no, this is a bold new reimagining of the brand. Take a shot. Yeah. So the crazy part about this, Atari. Relatively, not like they're past their prime by about 30 years, but it's.
What was the last good thing that Atari did?
I'm sure it's more recent than we think. Actually,
Yeah.
I think that they've had their name on some stuff. Yeah, it's like Gauntlet. I've heard really good things about Gauntlet. Yeah, I'm sure that there's. See, now I want to look at a list. But that aside, here's the crazy thing. Even though they are, kind of on the rocks, they're still a major publisher. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, they are going to be releasing this on Steam Early Access. Because this is a 3D survival game, and why not put it on 3D on Early Access rather? Because that is all that's on Early Access.
Yeah,
I couldn't imagine a game like this not being Early Access.
Question before I have an opinion on this is is early access a finite resource? Like, by virtue of Atari being in early access, are other games booted out?
No, Greenlight is a finite resource, but presuming Atari has published something with Steam before, they won't have to greenlight anything. Anyway, so this should not be a finite resource.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, Greenlight should technically be a finite resource, but they kind of just let everything in that gets a certain number of votes, as opposed to being like, I think 100 at a time is what they used to be. Something like that. But essentially what this means, and the way that like indies use early access, is as a form of crowdfunding, saying, hey, we have a minimum viable product right now, and in order to continue developing this, we are willing to sell to a group of people who are willing to assume the risk of playing something that is obviously labeled, directly labeled as a beta, or sometimes even an alpha. In order to, get enough money to complete funding and complete development.
There also tends to be, there's the groups that are actually doing it as like a pseudo beta, and then there's a lot of people that kind of do the Minecraft thing where, it's just going to be in beta for like the next 3 years.
Yeah, until they arbitrarily decide, hey, this is feature complete, and then they push it out. Yeah. So I'm not a person who gets salty about early access. I think that it's a benefit, to games like, Minecraft being the actual kind of biggest champion and benefactor of that before it was even, called early access, before, Steam even did something like that. But stuff like Starbound or Rust, like any of those are games that were released under that banner and have done pretty well. And there's a possibility for it to be abused. Like we saw with one of those zombie shooter games. Also with like DayZ a little bit.
Also a zombie shooter game.
Basically all zombie shooter games.
Yeah, I don't know if if my irritation at this is just because a lot of what I see highlighted on my Steam storefront is just early access stuff that I don't really have any interest in, that all kind of seems to be the same. Ooh, it's a pixel art game where you can design and build stuff. I don't. We have a lot of those. But I like the part of this that bugs me is that like you have a publisher. I don't know. It seems to be the leading narrow end of a long wedge that maybe might be good for the industry in terms of like if a bigger publisher is willing to say we're going to push this thing out incomplete and give insight into the way this is developed as opposed to just pushing out something that's incomplete at full price and saying haha you'll get this in a 1.1 patch or whatever, not to sound like somebody on a news site comment section, but yeah, it seems let's say untoward of them to use that.
Even if they're not actually like bumping someone else out of being able to participate, they are taking like mind space. And it would be really sketchy is if they were able to like pay to get better placement in the program or something like that, which I don't know whether or not that's something they could do. But this is a publisher who definitely doesn't need it, taking space on the shelf on the quote unquote shelf from someone.
I
who
don't
might.
know. For this game, they might need it.
Hey, I mean, these are the people who brought us most recently Haunted House, Cryptic Graves, and Alone in the Dark.
I love that name.
Feednistration? I can't read this. Hold on.
Fenestration?
Illumination or something? I forget.
Illumination.
Yeah,
yes.
yes. Alone in the Dark, Illumination.
I was hoping for a Alone in the Dark game entirely about chucking people off windows.
Hey, actually, I like at the very least, I have no idea what this game is like. The third one on the list is Minimum, which could be a very sad comment about the effort that was put into this game. But the way they spell the title is all a series of like vertical bars, which is kind of cool.
It's also crazy how they talk about you. You know what it feels like? It feels like when the Battleship movie came out. and all of the kind of like conversation and marketing around it ended up being like, we all remember Battleship as kids, right? Here's this movie that I don't know takes something from that. I'm not exactly sure. Just watch this thing. In no way are we trying to put something out so we can keep the trademark or keep the option alive.
Hey, they brought Liam Neeson to the franchise.
Yeah.
They didn't take anything from it. No, damn it, there's a pun in there with taken, and I can't get to it.
It is on the other side of some bulletproof glass, and the door is locked. That goof is forever beyond your reach, but always in your sight.
Damn it. So close.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what are there any like ultra old school Atari games you would like to see remade?
Yar's Revenge.
You had that one ready to go.
Yeah, that one was on lock.
I've never heard of that.
I want a gritty FPS Pong remake.
See, I would like to see Centipede as basically being Aliens, except a good game.
I would love to see. Let's take Combat and reimagine it as a combination RTS/MOBA, where you just send takes at each other. It's great. Yeah. Also, there probably was a Battlefront, whatever. Man,
Battlefront, like the Star Wars game? Is that
maybe
an Atari game?
Battleground. Yeah, Battleground. I think.
Oh, I didn't know that was Atari.
Yeah.
Nice.
So Atari did the Alone in the Dark games, which are kind of cool. Cryptic Graves. That's such a bad name. It sounds like something I'd think up. That's how bad it is.
As opposed to the obvious Graves.
Yeah. Wait a minute. There was a 2011 version of Yar's Revenge.
What?
What is this now?
This is answered, Kole.
Oh, it was an Xbox Live Arcade. It was a downloadable reimagining, which yawn. Nope. Yeah. I don't know. I'm gonna stop before this turns into us reading names of Christian rock bands off of Wikipedia.
The 1 week I'm gone, guys.
Wait, that was not Wikipedia. That was all from my misspent musical taste.
Yeah. So Dennis, how did it feel to listen to that?
No, you guys actually got a pretty... Well, you were looking at Wikipedia. You got a pretty complete list. The one name I didn't hear was Anne Boleyn. That would have been my contribution. And then I would have gone into a bunch of like crappy Christian rappers.
guitar for his. He said Anne Berlin is what that is.
Amberlin. I actually like Amberlin a lot. They're like a mute math style. Like I think you described it as stealth down with the Jeezy. So
Yeah, not the Jeezy. I'm not crass. Down with the G's.
There you go. Of course.
Is Mute Math explicitly a Christian band?
No. Like I said, stealth ways.
Stealth G's. They're like Mumford and Sons.
Oh, is Mumford and Sons that way?
I believe so.
They do a lot of religious stuff in their lyrics, but I always figured it was just kind of a
we're a banjo band, so we got to talk about the reckoning.
Honestly, I much prefer that. The second they split Christian music off as a genre, it died.
Yeah,
like that is by definition a bad thing. But anyway, yeah, the Amberlin was my my contribution. I think you guys got
you were
everyone else
screaming. I thought about it when we were in there.
You're pounding my steering wheel. Come on,
you sons of bitches! Put me in, coach. Put me in. Yeah, I thought about that when we were recording. It was like, man, I really wish Dennis was here because I would feel worse about laughing about this in front of him. But you can shed some light.
There's a lot to laugh about. I think the only explicitly Christian artist that I think is really, really good is Toby Mac. Other than that, it's pretty uniformly terrible. Bright spots, but pretty uniformly terrible.
Okay. I was going to say, is Bright Spots another band? I can never tell.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So this Asteroids thing is super goofy. I'm going to be very curious to see if this is indeed the thin end of a long wedge. But we will see. Who wants to go next? Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, I got a fun one. So Battlefield Hardline is bad for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
In terms of subject matter and timing and basically everything else. However, they have gotten one thing incredibly right.
This is what I think it is.
Yeah, there is a 1 in 10,000 chance every time you reload that you get a special, like, really cool reload animation. And we're talking like zany, off the wall, crazy stuff.
Like using the Force.
Using the Force. There's one where he pulls it. So he's holding the gun with one hand. He pulls the clip out with a second hand and then inserts a new clip with a third hand.
Yep.
There's like Wild West reloading tricks and magic tricks, and just in general, it's pretty freaking cool.
He pulls a loaded gun out of a rabbit.
That poor rabbit.
I know, right? But near the end, he was mostly gun, not a lot of rabbit left in that equation. Oh, wait, am I referring to that goof in Postal where they use a cat as a silencer?
Probably.
I don't think that was a goof.
You think that is a noted property of cats?
No, I just think it was probably intentional.
Okay. No, I mean like a goof in terms like goofs and spoofs.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is probably 40% spoof, but 60% goof.
Right.
Yeah, because it'd be kind of weird if it was like, yeah, I was looking down in the middle of my gunfight, and what do you know? I had replaced my silencer with a cat. It was a mistake.
So I can't tell if this was a video that I just saw of somebody making funny reload animations, or if this was something I about said animations, or if this was something for Battlefield Hardline. But I think I saw one of somebody. He pulls the clip out, and then you see the character. It's in first person. You hear him cough, and he throws up a bunch of bullets, and then. Like onto the ground, and then you see coming out of the bottom of a screen a clip, and he pulls it out of his mouth like, oh, and then pops it in and gets up. Is that the same?
I have not seen that one, but I believe it. Like that, it's on that level of just like crazy and stupid.
Yeah, so it can distract you from the atrocities that are being committed every day.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the great thing, again, glossing over all the terrible stuff about Battlefield Hardline, which is not a game that should come out or should come out in a vastly redesigned form. But anyway, is that it's 1 in 10,000 chance of seeing it happen, which is, then it's an even lower chance that the person happens to be recording when it happens and can share it. So it gets us back to that mythic like playground style, like, oh, you totally can get XYZ if you do ZYX level of finding cool stuff.
But if you think about it, think about how often you reload in a first-person shooter. Like, I compulsively reload, even if I've shot, like, once or twice, which means I'm leaving like 98% full clips in my wake behind me. But let's leave that aside.
I really miss that being a feature, particularly of Battlefield.
What's that you lose all the bullets in the clip?
Yeah, and at least in Battlefield 2, I know it was in, like, you had, like, 4 clips around. If you shot a bullet and reloaded, all those bullets, rest were gone.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they don't do it, but it's more of just a fun thing to goof about. I mean, or spoof about. What's that?
Accuracy versus fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it is a good thing that all clips are effectively one bullet. Like, that's fine. I outside of like Arma or Operation Flashpoint or whatever, I'm cool with Gordon Freeman being able to do that. But like with as much as I reload personally in a game, like one in 10,000, that's not actually that rare throughout an entire game,
I also
right?
feel like it's the, like I saw once, someone was complaining on like the World of Warcraft forums, someone was hacking, their random loot rolls, they got a 100 out of 100 like 3 times in a row, and one of the devs eventually posted back and was like, yeah, actually with the number of loot rolls we have, statistically that happens like 8 times a day. So I feel like
Nice.
this also would probably be, well, it's an EA game, so maybe they won't have that problem, but
Yeah. So this is 1% of 1%, which if you extrapolate that to even 1 million, I don't know how to do that math. Like 1 million people who are going to buy and play this game. That is even if all of them just reloaded once, that is a statistically not significant, I guess, but it is a non-zero enough number that I think that it's going to be something that pops up. But I totally agree with you, Dennis. Like they were talking about this on Idle Thumbs recently, and I hate to make this the video game podcast, but other video game podcasts about
recursion.
Right, it's like Synecdoche, New York. There's a bigger podcast inside this one. But talking about how it used to be the case that there were just things that you saw that you couldn't get anybody else to believe that you saw.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my gosh, I totally swear that if you see this one cutscene in Bionic Commando enough times, the guy eventually says, "Fuck it, let's fight." As opposed, like it's like, yeah, like okay, that is totally believable, and it's something that is that is part of that game. But like, I don't know, in the age of recording, it kind of seems weird to have that kind of a rarity.
So the quick math here says, let's assume that the reload animation is 5 seconds. That's a little generous, but 5 seconds to do the whole reloading trick and, all that stuff is not way out there. You would have to spend 13 hours reloading, closer to 14 hours just reloading before you actually saw one of these animations. Or you would see one animation for every 13 hours you spent reloading, not necessarily playing.
Right.
So that tells me, like, I agree, it's probably more frequently than it seems just with the numbers on paper because of how often you reload, but that's still, I'd say if you spend half your time reloading, you got to play for a full day straight to see one of these animations.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the other thing is with EA's track record on game design, this is clearly going to be connected to an achievement that unlocks some special gun. So you're going to go into a server and half of your team is just going to be sitting at the spawn point firing a bullet and reloading.
Someone kill me, I'm out of ammo.
No, I'm too busy firing these bullets to kill you.
That's what it would look like if all the strike forces just got really high before they went into fight. Bah! No, I reloaded regular this time. Bah! I think it was it was the same.
That's when they would see the animations on every reload. Where are these hands coming from?
I'm kind of curious to see if that ends up being if you can see when that happens to somebody else. Like, oh, did that person just use the Force?
That'd be funny.
Because usually the model that you see in first person isn't the same one that you see outside of that in third person. Like those aren't the same things.
Yeah, it'd also be interesting because they're like I said, the animations are long and they're cool, but if you reload in the middle of a firefight and get that, you kind of want to hurry up and fire again. And that would be horrible, is if you saw that reload animation starting and then firing would interrupt it. So you could finally, after
No.
yeah 2 straight days of gameplay, see it and accidentally interrupt it.
I don't know if they implemented a system to punish people that reload cancel. I think I might be behind that.
The good thing though, so EA or whoever came out and said, yeah, there's 1 in 10,000 chance. They're not telling you which weapons have it and which weapons don't. Apparently, not all weapons have it, but the real pro move would have been to just categorically deny that it even happens.
Oh man, that must be a weird bug that got through. We'll catch that in testing.
Yeah.
Or no, just say, oh man, you know what? There was one designer who really liked goofy stuff like that, but he died mysteriously, like when the discs were being pressed. That's so crazy. Bernie, you did it again, you crazy son of a bitch. Why won't you stay buried?
Dude, if I come back to haunt something, I want to put cool reload animations in a game. That seems like a good use of haunting. I'll also
if
have
you rise from your what is it, cryptic grave or whatever?
Yes, for your
cryptic grave. For cryptic reloads.
I just hate that title so goddamn much, you guys. I'm sorry.
I'm just disappointed that they didn't go with cryptic crypts.
It seems like a missed opportunity.
That sounds like a shareware Amiga game. Cryptic Crypts, like a spooky platformer. I would love to play Cryptic Crypts. Like, that's an amazing title. Oh man, it has like little puzzle elements. You're trying to match colors and things. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd love that.
Get on it, indie devs.
Yeah. Let's hear, Ben. How about you?
So the story that I found is that Bethesda announced that they're going to have a news conference at E3 this year, and it's the first time that they have done that in a while. Yeah. Or actually, and by a while I mean ever.
They just got confused. They're trying to book a hotel room.
So, yeah, there's kind of some speculation about what it could be for. My hope is that it's for the next Fallout game.
Me too. Your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. But some other possibilities is it could be the next Doom game. It could be the next Dishonored game. It could be some sort of Elder Scrolls themed game. So there are...
Why does it have to be only one?
It could be all of those things, perhaps. Yeah. Maybe there's a lot of meat at this C3. But
it's about time for Dishonored 2.
Yeah, I agree.
I can see a Doom Elder Scrolls crossover game being pretty epic.
Or just that portal opens up. Like, what is this, Oblivion? No, it's Mars Hell.
Honestly, that would be cool. The dungeons would be, I think, a lot more fun in that situation.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, I'd be pretty happy with any of those. I'd be a little bit less excited about Doom. So I would be surprised if Doom was announced at E3 instead of QuakeCon, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. What was the last Doom? Doom 3? 4?
Yeah, Doom 3.
3.
In
That
2003.
was the Doom movie.
That was the mid to late 2000s, right?
Yep. No, Doom 3 was 2003.
Okay.
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Yeah. It's a good game. I like Doom 3 a lot. My
reference is that you guys had a Doom 3 like cardboard cutout in your room freshman year. So that's,
yes.
In my mind, that's when it came out.
Do you remember the stoned dude that came into our room?
Talking about the demon that we had in our window?
Yeah, and how it like stepped out of the window and chased him around campus.
Yep, I remember that. But with the shit that we put on the walls, it's like I was trying to scare girls away.
I believe, I don't know, this might not have been a turner, but I know at one point we had a life-size Jumper poster. That might have been the year after.
The Hayden Christensen movie?
Oh, yeah.
Was it him standing on top of a sphinx? Oh, God, I hope it was him standing on top of a sphinx.
Yeah, it was something along those lines. Life-size.
It's so sad that Jumper is the only notable movie that Hayden Christensen has done.
Besides Star Wars.
I said that is the only notable movie that Hayden Christensen has done.
We're bearing that one. Okay. What about Life as a House? No? Nothing?
What about Awake?
I'll accept any of those.
I only know these from the Flophouse, so it's like, yeah, no. So we hung up that the Doom. We put the Bender up. Yeah,
I remember the Bender. That inspired. We had a Hall of Heroes, a rasterized Hall of Heroes in my sophomore year room, which was all just life size portraits. We had the two I can think of off the top of my head. Money, you might be able to help. Is Lightning McQueen, Boba Fett.
Lightning from the Cars games or the Cars movies?
No, sorry. What did I say?
You mean Steve McQueen?
Steve.
So
Okay.
sorry. There we go.
Thank
Yeah.
God, Jesus! Wow, you couldn't have got those more wrong. Lightning. I can get behind Steve McQueen. Steve McQueen's a fucking badass, man.
Yeah, Steve McQueen, Boba Fett.
Bullet, come on,
I can't remember who else, but yeah. So
man. I put it still like I would say just make
Did
it
we
a.
ever actually put up Reagan?
no, I don't think that one quite made it. Although I remember one year. Okay, now we're going off the rails.
That's fine. That's
Yeah, I think it was there was like a war of the like ultra liberal floor 2 suite and the ultra conservative floor 3 suite, where like I think the conservative suite put up like a huge rasterization of Reagan in the window, like facing out where the entire campus could see it, and then I think the people below them did. I forget who, but it just escalated. Like they traded stuff back and forth.
And then, like, the people below them did, like, Jack Sparrow or something.
Man, I thought I was trying to scare girls away. What's happening?
Scare all girls away or scare all but the right girls away?
I guess. I don't know. Like, my strategy didn't pan out if it was the latter.
The Ronald Reagan just reels them in.
Yeah. Get a couple of those. Oh, man. I was about to make some
Oh, yeah,
horribly...
if you're looking for, Mrs. Right Wing.
I was about to make some horrible joke about trickle down, but I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not going to debase us that way. So we're gonna proceed. So Doom 3, well, we have Bethesda. I really hope it's a new Fallout game.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, I would accept a Dishonored. Elder Scrolls, I don't know. Like that would be kind of a close third, I guess. You sound nonplussed.
Let's hope about Fallout.
Yeah.
I'll go for a Fallout.
Yeah. Yep. We know what's happening. Good.
If make it a Fallout game, where do you want it to take place?
Well, we know it's taking place in Boston, right?
Oh, is it? I didn't know that much.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think that was the most active and recent rumor as of I think like early 2013. There was a leak around that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fallout 3 is at the top of my list of games that I need to play again that I will never play again.
You were trying to do an evil run on that, right? Or was that you, Ben?
No,
that was me. I was doing an evil run where I played it like a first-person shooter. And I got like through the tutorial and like a couple missions into the game and totally like found like 6 different things that I never even saw in the first playthrough. Yeah. And then lent it to a friend who never gave it back.
So?
And it's just like, now I just don't think I'll ever get back to it, even though I loved the idea that I was going after with it.
Uh-huh.
So that's all I'm left with is the idea.
I forget, Dennis. Did you ever play New Vegas?
No, I did not.
Oh, that might be a good alternative.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, New Vegas is pretty epic.
If you'll remember from the 4 months that we talked about it.
Yeah. I gotta complete that square of having the games trickle down from one person to another.
Yep. There we go. We got trickle down in. David, how about you?
Apparently, the team that made S.T.A.L.K.E.R, GSC Game World, is getting back to making video games again, and it sounds like there's at least some possibility that they're going to be making a new S.T.A.L.K.E.R game.
Ooh.
So that's fairly exciting, although this article I'm reading is quite possibly some of the most confusing things I've ever read. For example, at one point their head of public relations reveals that he recently left the game industry to pursue a career in motocross, but it's now back. And one of its like, shout out sidebar quotes is the brother of the founder of GSC is the producer on the next title.
I just imagine this is one of those montage where it's like, get the gang back together, and they're all doing their own thing. Like,
Yeah.
one's drummer for a band and just walks off a stage in the middle of a set, and one's a motocross racer.
One's like standing over the grave of his wife. He sheds a single tear. Somebody steps in from the background. He looks up, nods resolutely into the camera. Mouse, let's do this. And then Star Wipe. We have somebody who's standing on a bridge. It's just 30 minutes of that. Assembling the entire dev team.
Sally, hold my calls.
One was like elbow deep in a guy's chest, like doing surgery.
This sounds like the film equivalent of Too Many Cooks.
Oh man. Yeah, so a huge part of the story is that like for a while there they had a lot of trouble protecting the Stalker patent, right?
Right.
Not patent or trademark, right?
Right. Yeah. There's another game company or whatever trying to not Kickstarter because they got kicked off Kickstarter, yes, but is trying to crowdfund a Stalker game. Mm-hmm. And it's a little bit interesting because I mean the whole Stalker thing, my understanding, is kind of part of like Ukrainian folklore. So I don't think they can like straight up keep someone from making a game about that.
I'd be surprised actually if it's not trademarkable. Like, I think that's the big thing, because isn't Stalker based on a piece of literature too?
Yeah, it's I think more it's based on Roadside Picnic, but I think more the movie than the book.
Okay. Yeah.
Now remind me. So they had the first game really good. Did they make a sequel?
Yeah, the first game was basically really good and was kind of the strongest story. The second game was just all around bad. The third game was basically they got their act together and actually made a polished game. The story was a little weaker than the first one, but it was actually, not glitchy. And then that was the last thing they made.
And then they split the gang up.
Yep. They said, let's meet here again in 7 years.
This is where they're all reminiscing and saying, "Why'd we ever split up, guys?" And the one person comes to the doors and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's why."
That guy. Well, we had to break up the band, but we wanted to get Steven out, but we didn't want to hurt his feelings. So we're like, "Oh, we're gonna break up and then just reform without him a little bit later." But no, we fucking got the invitation. Damn you, social media. It's like, hey guys.
Hey guys.
I like that voice. Can you do that again?
Hey guys. I'm not sure
90?
what I'm trying to imitate there.
Is he 90, Dennis?
I'm just here to make some music. Could someone help me get my washboard out the car?
Damn it, Regis. I don't know why it's Regis. I don't know why that's the name. It's the Pepperidge Farm guy. Well, Tom was.
Wait, was that we had a band.
Colin Leghorn?
No, I don't know what that voice was. I was trying to do Pepperidge Farm guy, but it didn't work out.
Oh,
Thank you for drawing attention to that.
Yeah, that's all the impressions I think we have in us for tonight.
Yeah, probably.
So, yeah.
So I have to stop pretending to be the person that I am on the show.
Cole's actual voice is like 3 octaves lower.
Go ahead, David. You were going to talk about facts.
Oh, no, I was just going to submit one other minor news item that I found entertaining.
Okay.
Someone posted, I think on Steam, and then Jala brought it to my attention. It's what the fuck is myquest.com?
Okay.
Which is just a completely meaningless random story generator that gives you a Dark Souls-esque quest.
All right, everyone go to this site and roll once.
So can continue, complete your description of what this is, David.
Yeah,
and then
so it's just, I feel like all will be revealed when we relate our roles.
Okay.
All right.
Dennis, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start mine. So I'm not sure if it always starts with, holy shit, look at all this shit to do. Mine is, ride a giant bird to the forest of questions. Learn the secrets of the beautiful sentient celery stalk. Then say the magic word to activate the ancient vest made of pure light. Only then will the old gods be set free.
Okay. You're trying to release the old gods.
Yes.
To return some kind of order to the world from the new corruption.
And apparently interact with beautiful sentient celery stalks, which how they knew my specific fetish, I don't know.
Well, I assume that as a web app, they have access to your history.
Yeah, to my search history.
Yep. Stalker. Ben, how about you?
Mine says, ride a giant bird through the mountain of truth. Confuse the scary sentient celery stalk.
Uh-oh.
Then take the messed up stone of crippling pain.
Messed up. That's something from Adventure Time. The messed up stone of crippling pain.
Wait, do you not have a final line on what will happen?
Mine says also, only then will the old gods be set free.
Huh. Man, this randomization really sucks.
There's apparently a couple ways that the old gods can be set free.
Okay.
So mine says, I need you to fucking go and move quickly through the rift of forgotten beasts. Play a game with the courageous beholder. Then discover the true secret of the technologically enhanced rock made of pure light. Only then will the fog dissipate.
A lot of rocks. Oh, I like the fog dissipate. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Huh. I'm gonna do mine here. Move quickly through the jungle of madness. Kiss the amicable mermaid, then activate the old rock that emits a faint hum. Only then will the spellbook activate and allow you to save the swarm of cruelties.
Don't save the swarm of cruelties.
I know, right? Well, I'm a villain in this. Didn't you hear the voice?
There aren't enough games where you play as the villain.
I know,
Too many
right?
anti-heroes, not enough villains.
Yeah, man, just let me straight up just burn a village. Yeah. So
Actually, that would be hatred. I take that back.
oh nope. I take that back too. Didn't realize what I was saying.
Thing.
I done
what?
goofed. It sounds like David hasn't heard of hatred.
You're lucky.
Yeah, Hatred is a game that a Polish developer with questionable ties to white supremacist groups is putting out that is about killing women and minorities in a postal-like fashion.
Oh, well, that seems like a thing.
Yeah, it's real upsetting.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think of this randomizer. The fact that they repeated so much, and the fact that it all kind of seems to be lol random humor.
Yeah.
I like me a good random generator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a Twitter profile generator somewhere that is absolutely hilarious.
What is it? Is it actual job, aspirational job, description of what you are?
It's just a bunch of stuff, roles in life, I guess, laid out with periods in between them. Just like this, that, the other thing, other thing.
Yeah.
And it's, and they just get increasingly ridiculous.
Accountant, opportunist, defendant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, accountant, opportunist, robo-dancer.
Ugh. Huh. You guys want to go into multiplayer?
That would get us back on track.
Yeah, I probably would.
Multiplayer.
We've been digressive.
Passive digressive.
Passive.
We've been pensive digressive tonight.
I like passive digressive better. Let's see here. So this is the multiplayer where we talk about your answers to a question that we ask. Sorry, I got distracted by that link that somebody just dropped in the machine. Dennis, what's the question that we asked to our kind listeners?
Yeah, I wanted to hear about interesting failures. So what is the most spectacular or entertaining way that you have failed in a game?
Yeah. Let's hear, Ben. What's Daniel say?
Daniel says, a recent example is from Dying Light. Trying to climb to the radio tower is a pain in the ass, but missing a jump and falling all the way to the ground is horrifying. But the sickening crunch of bone and sinew at as the screen goes to black made it somewhat comical, almost like a cartoon. But now I never want to climb anything more than a foot tall in real life.
Stairs are a nightmare. Yeah, it's like in a cartoon. You know, when Wile E. Coyote fell off the cliff and you heard all of his organs rearranging in the splatter, and he was hella lifted off, and then there were those years of reconstructive surgery and physical therapy as he was trying to learn to walk again.
This is why Kole does not make cartoons.
Oh, I make cartoons for a living. You know this, right?
Point.
Sorry.
How do you make cartoons for a living?
I mean, they're marketing, but they're cartoons.
Wow. Someone. Yeah.
What's that?
No.
Okay.
I imagine like David slinking away from the mic right now or something.
Yeah. Just walking away.
Yep. I didn't mean to like put you on blast for that, but it's really funny because I noticed the irony in what you said. I do in fact make a certain kind of animated video.
What's funny is that Daniel's thing is the exact opposite of how it works in most games, where you know you get a little blood splashed up on the screen and then are immediately fine after a 10-story fall.
I'm curious about Dying Light. David, was it you who was talking about that before?
I mean, I was initially interested in it.
But then you found out it was the Dead Island guys, right?
Well, it was more just like for me, honestly, like every review of Dying Light could be compressed to one sentence, which is, is it or is it not Dead Island, 2? And pretty much every review I read said, like, yeah, it's still basically Dead Island, but...
The best description that I heard was, again, on another podcast, I'm sorry if I'm repeating anybody, but that it is Dead Island meets The Floor is Lava. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I think the thing, honestly, is I think the Dead Island series is a series you should only play if you're going to play always co-op.
Right.
So, the other big thing is I haven't been able to tell if they got rid of the horrible motion blur from the last game.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of think from some of the videos it looks like they haven't. So.
All right. David, what's Brandon say?
Sure. Brandon said, I've recently been playing The Evil Within. Ammo is very scarce and stealth is key. I went house to house in a small village, killing each enemy, feeling pretty badass. Then I stopped paying attention. Turned a corner and ran into 3 zombie-type enemies. I blasted 6 rounds into the first guy's chest, watched him fall, then ran and hid. After I escaped, I was back to normal until I walked past the corpse I'd shot. He rose up and ate my face. If you don't stealth kill or headshot the enemies, they don't actually die. And I knew this. I'm a dumbass.
He wrote this like an E.E. Cummings poem. Yeah. Man, I need to play The Evil Within. I've got it on PC. It's queued up.
I didn't realize it was a zombie game?
Yeah, it's Resident Evil 4, except from what I understand, not as good.
Oh. So all the like screenshots and stuff like that made it look a lot more like Amnesia-esque.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't played it, so I can't speak to it. Sam Bear writes in, started a custom game of Crusader Kings 2. Wanted to see what would happen if a 9th century British nobleman was Jewish. Managed to live about 20 years before the Open Revolt. Yep, historically accurate bigotry. Nice.
That's funny. That's a what system in Crusader Kings did you work on? I ran the bigotry division.
Yeah, I ran, I was responsible for the pogrom module. I feel bad about that joke.
Responsible for the artificial racism. Yeah.
Like, so it's funny because that seems like an accurate simulation, and it's his fault for trying it. Not to blame the victim here. Man, I really wish Crusader Kings 2 was a game that was scrutable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dennis,
what can't you screwed about it?
I don't know. I haven't found a good like entry point to it. In terms of like a, here is a training wheels on version where we kind of guide you towards what the best choice is right now.
Sure.
I have it and I've played it. It's just incredibly complicated in a way that Paradox games are. I really hope. Yeah. Okay. Pandemic is the open world guys. Paradox are the strategy guys. Cool. And the way that those games are. And I just haven't made any real headway into it. Dennis, what does David Petrocco say?
David says, playing Destiny. My 2 other teammates were dead and surrounded by enemies across the map. I made a mad dash across the map to revive them. Everything was going perfect. Triple jumped up a building, took out a group of enemies with my grenades, and slid in behind some cover to revive my team. Winning! Unfortunately, since we hadn't been killing anything for a few minutes, the number of additional enemies that had spawned quickly overwhelmed us, and we died anyway.
So,
Wah wah.
huh.
It's the journey, not the end point. Remember the journey.
Right. Remember the game journey.
Remember the game journey and how I always confuse it with Destiny. Yes.
Ben, what does Sean Petrie say? He corrected us on his pronunciation. I was trying to French it up too much.
Sean says, I was playing Metal Gear Solid, and I imagine he says it, Metal Gear, at my then girlfriend's house over Christmas. The PlayStation I was playing on was lacking a memory card, so old school Nintendo style, the system was left on for hours at a time so as to not lose progress. I got up to the pivotal scene where Snake is on the torture rack, spoiler alert, and you have to either submit and Meryl dies, survive, and figure your way out of the cell. I ended up hitting option 3 where you die and you don't come back. I still came back after and played through a couple times, but I felt so bad then. Also, I rented the game, so I had to scan through every codec code to talk to Meryl during the first part of the game.
Oh, yeah, because you have to look on the CD case in order to get a frequency.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Yep. I remember that was not a problem for me, but that is one of the things that makes that game infamous.
What's the frequency, Otacon?
He says while wielding a knife at him in a back alley. Ben, how about you? What's your biggest fuck up in games? Sorry.
Good. I was about to get really dark. I actually cannot think of one off the top of my head. I was going to scramble for one later. Oh, okay, yeah, no, I do have one. In Just Cause, this isn't exactly a fuck up, but more of like an accident that was fun. I was trying to grapple to a shed, and as I was going towards it, it blew up. And so instead of grappling onto the shed, I grappled onto the door that was flying through the air and like spinning around. And it was from the perspective of that wall, so the world was spinning around. It was great.
Nice.
I imagine if I ever dipped into hardcore drugs, this would be my other dark mistake or whatever. Then that would be what it would be like. It was awesome.
Nice.
Let's see here. David, what does Noah say?
Noah says, 1990s adventure game, James Bond, The Stealth Affair. Phrasing, I neglected to pick up a rubber band early in the game, not knowing that I would need it in the last scene to keep a nuclear bomb from dropping. Realism! Didn't have an earlier save, so I started from the beginning, got the rubber band, and promptly overwrote my only save after taking a game-ending wrong turn and maze. Having now rendered the game unbeatable on 2 separate occasions, I decided to go back to something sensible and straightforward, like King's Quest.
I wasn't even aware of this. It was called Operation Stealth here in America.
Huh.
It was not a licensed game. You know, rubber bands, they're, rationing. There's a Cold War on, guys. We have to do our best to support our boys abroad. That's funny. Let's see here. David, fuck up.
What?
What's your fuck up? It wasn't a criticism, man.
Sounded like a command. Fuck up right now, David.
Or an association.
I know. I think my favorite, at least recently, was I was playing Destiny and managed to I'd been saving my grenade charge for the climactic battle against one of the mini bosses. So I charge into the room, chuck it at the boss, and it proceeds to bounce off his head and land at my feet and blow me up. I also think this wasn't personal experience, but one of my favorite interesting deaths is the old Red Faction games where they would save as soon as you complete an objective. Mm-hmm. So Suicide Bomber was a viable way to beat the game.
I mean, that is a prolonged, sustaining fuck up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's some people do a no weapons run. I do a fuck up run.
That's not going to be a title.
It only counts if you say oops each time.
Oopsie. Yeah. Let's see here. Dustin writes in saying, in 2006, I was playing Lineage on a U.S. live server when I dropped 82 million Adina, which is the gold in the game, on the floor by mistake, thinking that I had selected a large stack of arrows right next to it. It was immediately picked up by someone standing nearby. He teleported away so fast that I didn't get his name. To give you an idea of how much that hurt, 10 mil was worth approximately $50 back then.
Oh,
yeah. So he done lost about $400.
400 plus bucks. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That sucks.
That's
Ooh.
ridiculous.
Yeah, that stings. I'm going to throw in Mikhail's here as well, who says, plan? Video game? Never. So talking about when the best laid plans go awry. So like Ben, this is a really hard question for me to answer, just because, I don't know, like ever since Dark Souls, I've not been attached to anything in games. It's like, oh, well, easy come, easy go. We're going to be fine. Yeah, let me think here. One time, the first time I played Final Fantasy VI was on the PlayStation with that terrible port that was available. And this is less of a fuck up and more of a game being mysteriously haunted kind of story. Okay. So there's a point about a third of the way through the game where Terra, the kind of the female lead for the first half of the game, transforms into an Esper and flies away, and this is like a big dramatic moment in the story. This is also a 20-year-old game, so
deal.
Yeah. And like as this happened, it was like a crazy heightened thing, and then the screen just goes black, and I hear like a pop kind of thing. Like, oh, wait a minute, that's kind of crazy. Like, is this what happens? Like, does it just go black and then it comes up? Like, they cut to black after this, and like nothing. And I see
destroyed the sun.
Yep. And I see that the system power light is on, but there is nothing happening on the screen. Doesn't respond to my commands or whatever. So I'm like, well, it's been a couple hours since I saved, just because of the way that this worked up. So, man, I guess I have to turn this off. And then I go to turn it back on, and then nothing. I'm like, well, this is really scary. I think my PlayStation's broken. I walk away, and I come back to it, and then I notice, oh, the AV cord just came out. But there was no tension. There was nothing to indicate that there would be like a kick on the wire to yank it out of the jack, right? So yeah. I'm not saying, ooh, this is a creepypasta or, too spooky for you or whatever, but that was a very bizarre occurrence that just had to be some kind of crazy fluke that, for a while there lined up with this might have just happened narratively. And I think I put Final Fantasy VI down for a couple months after that because I lost all that progress.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what you're telling me is that you've been squandering your telekinetic power your entire life.
Yeah, I was so concerned about what was happening with what was happening in Narsh. I was really curious about what was going on back there, and just at that point, like it just became too much. And I was like, and then it went away, and now my powers only activate when I'm playing a Final Fantasy game.
That would be a good Duckfeed t-shirt. Just I wonder what's happening in Narsh.
We've kicked that around. Don't worry. Yep. Oh man, yeah, we have unlimited designs at our disposal.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah. So that's my story. Dennis, why don't you round us out with Phil and Chris?
Yeah. So Phil says, I distinctly remember one time during the brief duration that I played EverQuest. I was low level and I was on a boat to somewhere I can't remember, to a zone I was completely underleveled for. I somehow aggroed. What's that? Oh. I somehow aggroed a pack of mobs onto the boat. A pack of mobs?
Yep.
A mob of mobs.
Yeah, a mob of mobs. Yeah.
I'm trying to parse that one. Which they destroyed me. Which destroyed me. Then the boat continued, carrying my corpse with it. The boat eventually reached the edge of the zone and dropped my corpse into the water.
Yep.
However, After swimming all the way out to the body, I'm losing my voice. After swimming all the way out to the body, I discovered it was trapped just beyond the barrier where the players could not swim, so I was unable to get my equipment back.
And he wasn't able to. He wasn't able to summon his corpse that way.
It sounds like not.
Jesus,
So
You're
close.
speaking for Phil, Dennis.
yeah.
No,
Wow.
as an official ambassador for the Holmeses.
Yeah, that was a crazy thing. So before boats were just a teleport from one place to another, you had to ride through a zone, which was functionally useless. It was just a way to add some like size to the world, and it would be like, you know, probably realistically a 7-minute boat ride, but you had to wait for a long time for the ship to show up. And then that's exactly what would happen, because corpses can't zone. You would just have piles and piles of bodies that were killed by the sirens that came aboard, you know, lodged up against the zone line. And so you would see people like asking for necromancers to help them out by summoning their corpse to bring it back up, because there was no other way to get it back. And this was so bad that eventually they got rid of all the ocean zones entirely.
Yeah,
Jeez.
one of my most vivid memories of EverQuest was falling off one of the boats and being like marooned on a desert island
Yep.
for like an hour or so.
Yeah,
Hour or two.
I loved that game.
Best game ever.
Yeah.
Castaway Simulator.
So how about
yeah,
you?
and then-
Yeah, go ahead and do Christopher's.
Yeah, I'll do Chris, and then I'll do my my story. So Chris just says Germany won World War II in Hearts of Iron. Whoops. small detail there.
That's legally binding now.
Yeah, they're printing it up in textbooks.
No takesy backsies. Yeah.
Oh man, Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, so mine happened just a couple days ago. It's what got me thinking about this. Everyone knows I've been playing XCOM again. Fell back into that addiction in many different ways, which you will hear about. But had kind of the way some missions are set up. Once you get to the objective, it will spawn new enemies in, and it will always spawn the enemies in the same place on the map. So you can kind of anticipate where they'll be and set up your guys to kind of be there waiting in ambush when you get, you know, to the objective. So I did this, and I missed consecutively a 84% shot chance to hit shot, a 90% chance to hit shot from Overwatch, which means there was a slight penalty to aim. But missing those two in a row is extremely rare. So then I was like, okay, I got to take care of this guy now. I got another turn, and I proceeded to miss with an 84% chance to hit shot, an 86% chance to hit shot, and the 90% chance to hit shot again.
You
All
do
in a row.
realize that's actually the way that works.
What do you mean?
XCOM uses a seed, not a random number generator. So if you reload, you can reload an infinite number of times, and you'll always miss that shot because it basically the shots happen
When you start the map, everything's decided, right?
Yeah, I know,
Right,
but the
yeah.
first two shots that I missed were from Overwatch, so there was a penalty to aim. So I got basically a 30% boost to my chance between the first time I took the shot and the second time I took the shot. So running the numbers just real quick on the percentage chance of that happening, it is a 0.035% chance that would happen. I would miss all those consecutively. Welcome to XCOM.
So, I mean, is that technically a screw up though, or just a freak occurrence that was out of your control and you were making good decisions? Like, I think that a screw up has to be a temporary lapse in judgment that has negative consequences, but is kind of funny.
Playing XCOM, I would say, is my temporary lapse in judgment.
Your temporary couple years long lapse in judgment.
It was a spectacular failure, to be sure. I don't know what I would say I've done that was just a lapse in judgment. I had one time when I played Jack and Daxter, I wanted to 100% it, and I was missing one little precursor orb, which is the collectible. Wow. And there are hundreds and hundreds of these things. Like, they're all over the place. And there was one that was just in a level in a certain place. When I finally found it, it was just kind of slightly disguised. Like, it wasn't out of the main way, but I spent I spent literally days searching for it. So
Man.
that can be my failure. Is I just wanted to 100% it so much that I just ran around every single inch of that level, tried to break the geometry. Like I was out of ideas, and finally just found it kind of slightly to the side of a main path.
Huh. That's why I don't collect stuff. Not to pass judgment on the way you play games, but like I couldn't imagine any like that. That is my version of hell. Looking for the last collectible.
Yeah, but then you got the secret cutscene. I think that's what unlocked it.
That you can find on that you can find on YouTube.
You know,
No, I mean not at the time. Like this was before YouTube, but
no, it probably wasn't. But I did it.
yeah. Thank you, everybody, for writing in with that. If you want to see those prompts, they are on Facebook.com/The Level Podcast every Tuesday afternoon or so. Thank you, Dennis, for putting those up.
The grind.
Now it is time for The Grind, where we talk about the games that we have been playing over the course of this past week. Which one of you wasn't here last week?
That would be money, I think.
Yeah, David, you're up.
All right. Well, first, I just want to do a quick shout out that Sunless Sea is officially out, but I've played all of 15 minutes of it, so I'll have to give my opinions next week.
Ooh, cool. I can actually play that now.
Say that again?
I can play that now.
Yes. So other than that, on PlayStation Plus, they released new games last week. So I've been playing Yakuza 4, I believe. 4?
Yep.
Yeah, it's really pretty good. It seems like if you mashed up like a GTA and a fighting game.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it seems a little bit more story heavy than most of the GTA games are.
Yeah.
In terms of it seems to really go into sort of some of the kind of soap opera elements of the mob stories.
Did you ever play Shenmue?
I did not. I've heard interesting things about it.
Yeah, my understanding, I've never played a Yakuza game, but the things that I've heard about it make it sound like a version of Shenmue, or what kind of drew people to Shenmue, that is actually fun to play.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's huge, though, right?
I mean,
it's gigantic.
What aspects are you talking about?
Oh, just in terms of like not being a horrible life sim, but still having a lot of kind of details in the world and different non-combat things to do.
It's
good.
Yeah, I mean, it's got a ton of weird mini games, everything from like a dating sim to, all sorts of gambling. Pachinko, or however that's pronounced, is quite possibly the most confusing, nonsensical thing I've ever attempted. And yeah, there's also a lot of just like random world stuff. So like, as example, there's distinct, you use food to heal, but there's distinct, depending on what sort of restaurant you go to. Like if you go to a convenience store, you buy the food in your and it's placed in your inventory. If you go to a nice restaurant, they'll seat you in your order and eat it immediately. If you go to a fast food store, you can either take it to go or eat it immediately. So there's a lot of just like random kind of little pseudo-realistic details.
Mm-hmm.
And at least right now, I guess there's, I think, 3 or 4 characters you play as, but I'm really digging. The initial guy's kind of, his backstory is he's basically, they haven't quite revealed it, but, he's apparently at some point in the, past, suddenly became wealthy and basically became kind of a pseudo loan shark.
Okay.
Except that he loans money for with no interest rate, but before he'll loan anyone money, he has, various bizarre, like terms on the agreement, which end up generally being like, requiring them to do community service or, not doing certain things. And the game kind of implies they tend to be things where it's either things that allows him to like learn whether someone's trustworthy or, make them a better person. But it's more, it's not so much just like he's Santa Claus, so much as it's more sort of what they call it, kind of the trickster motif,
like a
type
Loki
thing. Yeah.
Like he's like a Tom Nook.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'm just imagining, guy trapped in an alley. Listen, you go hug your mom, or I will break your thumbs. Supposed to do it 2 weeks ago.
You mailed that thank you note.
Apparently, like each of the characters have their own side quests, and apparently his side quests are all these loan deals. And so, like one of them is basically this kind of rich, spoiled guy comes to you who basically his father was like a wealthy businessman, but he inherited the company and kind of ran it into the ground. And instead of downsizing it, he didn't want to that would injure his pride, so he just declared bankruptcy.
Okay.
And so eventually, you go through this whole thing. Eventually, the terms you give him are basically he must take over this other company one of your friends owns that's in the red and make it turn a profit. However, you then later reveal that's a company that it's has a bunch of business. It's a popular company, but the expenses are too high, so the only way to save is to downsize.
Wait a minute. So is running the business is that a gameplay thing? Is there a management sim?
It's more just like kind of like the Majora's Mask, the whole like helping people mechanic from that. It has a lot in common with that.
Yeah. Okay. So these are just little vignettes that play out as you're going about.
Right. Exactly.
Exploring this town. So. Can you talk to me about the combat?
Yeah. I mean, it's a third-person action game, so a little bit like a Devil May Cry or something like that, but more not quite as crazy acrobatic. So this character at least is all his moves are kicking moves, so it's very combo based, and then a lot of its big feature is basically you build up your heat gauge, and once it gets to the maximum, you can basically do takedowns to finish people off. And so that involves slamming their head into a wall and then curb stomping them, or basically like environmental kills in other games,
like in the Punisher game.
Yes. One of the weird things is I don't know if this will change once you get firearms, because that's definitely apparently a thing you can eventually get. But no matter what you do, you never actually kill anyone. So even if I literally just curb stomped a guy's face or finish someone by stabbing them with a katana, they'll just kind of stand up and be like, "Oh, you beat me up so bad. Here, take some money."
Walk away from that.
So, but yeah, it's fairly, I feel like it does a really good job of kind of threading the needle to where it's. I realize this is a really stupid thing to say, but it's simple but complex.
That makes sense. I would put it from videos that I've seen and kind of descriptions of it. Is it kind of similar to Arkham?
Yeah, I would say it's similar to Arkham without the lock on, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It's very similar to Arkham, or if you the most similar game I've played probably would be the old Matrix game, but no one played that. So
Enter the Matrix or Path of Neo?
Maybe a little bit similar to Jade Empire.
Okay.
So,
Which Matrix game is it similar to?
Enter the Matrix.
That was a good game.
Yeah. So so far it's really good. It's there's a lot of elements in it though. The game is very Japanese, like it's in terms of
the language they speak.
yes, also in terms of the language speak, but like also like, it's a lot a lot of the plot elements seem to revolve around like the Yakuza culture and like kind of it's whereas GTA is like a huge city that you're running around. In this you're basically running around Tokyo's red light district, so it's much smaller. It seems like it kind of emphasizes sort of pseudo normal life like in the city.
Mm-hmm.
So is it density
which is,
over?
say that again.
Is it more density versus more kind of breadth?
Yeah. But like the end effect is, it's kind of neat, from like seeing some different cultural stuff like that. But on the other hand, I find myself often not being able to figure out like what is just over the top gameplay, what is me just not understanding Japanese culture, and what is just weird Japan stuff.
I try not to make too many assumptions in any direction.
Yeah, that's generally my thing. But there are definitely some things that like come across a little weird that I'm assuming are maybe lost in translation. One of the noteworthy ones is you can talk to like NPCs outside of the various attractions, and they'll kind of give some flavor text.
Yeah.
And like outside the batting cages, there's this completely casual conversation between a woman and her coworker about how she likes to come here to get rid of stress when her boss sexually harasses her. It's like that's a little weird to just like casually drop and then do nothing with.
Yeah. Huh. See, I was about ready to say this game sounds like it's made for me because it sounds good, like a simple but involving combat thing, like a lot of slice of life stuff. But I guess if I can ignore that last little bit, then I can say like, yeah, I've wanted to. I've put forward doing Yakuza 1 or 2 for WoF before, but if this is free on PSN, then yeah, why not? Giddy up.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it. I just really like the way they do the story. I really like the way the characters are written. I think is really well done.
How does it compare to Sleeping Dogs?
I think it has definitely some similarities. This one, I realize this is kind of a thin comparison, but I would say Sleeping Dogs is a little more like a cop drama, whereas this is more a crime drama.
Okay, yeah, I follow.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of similarities. The combat has some similarities, stuff like that. One difference I have seen is that this seems to present a basically positive depiction of the Yakuza overall, whereas Sleeping Dogs doesn't really. Well, I mean, doesn't with the triad.
China. Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Cool. Yeah, you headed me off there.
Yeah.
That's my understanding though. Like that the Yakuza are kind of not revered is probably the strong word. I'm just going to avoid saying anything about another culture altogether. But
yeah, I mean, from what I can understand, it's seems like it's similar to some of the mob was some in America where they're basically an important part, at least in the game's depiction of kind of these neighborhoods running, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of like preventing crime, those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So, I know, like if nothing else, like that element of the story is very interesting, especially
Right.
since like at this point my character's not actually in the gang. He's just kind of a, I don't know, bystander. But
Well, yeah, I'm happy to have heard about that. I think you're the first person I've talked to has played one of those, like, firsthand. So
yeah.
Cool.
is that all?
Yeah, I think that's it.
Cool. Dennis, you alluded to some stuff earlier. I'm curious to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, XCOM, and more XCOM. So, been seeing a ton of time into that. Both the video game, where I've hit my first sticking point, and I'm just kind of replaying the same mission over and over, trying to beat it.
Which mission?
It's the first Exalt-related mission where you find the person who assaulted a convoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's just absolutely giving me a ton of trouble. I think my problem is I get to the guy, and then when it's time to escort him to the exit point, I just kind of my reflex is to make a sprint for it and just try to move really quickly, where once I get to him is the time when I need to turtle up the most. So upon thinking about it, that's the new tactic I'm going to take. But basically, I posted the first 2 times to the mission to the YouTube page, just to show that, hey, I am failing. It's interesting. I don't know that I'll post the other failures, just because it's stopped being fun to play the same mission over and over again. So I highly doubt it'll be fun to watch the same mission over and over again. But you've got the first
just
2.
add some yakety sacks.
Yeah, I'll add it at like 8x speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the video game version. But the more interesting thing is that I got the board game version for my birthday.
Ooh.
Which is fantastic. So I don't know if we've talked at all about it on the show, but I saw that they were making this and immediately just pounced on it. It is a co-op 4-player game where basically you're trying to beat back the alien invasion. The game is developed to be integrated with an app that you run on your computer or your phone or your tablet or whatever.
That's nice.
And part of like one player's role is to be the comms officer and like communicate what's going on in the app to everyone else.
That's
And so
kinda cool.
yeah, it's really cool, because what happens is, so you have a timed phase where actions pop up on the map, and everyone, there's a certain amount of time to perform the actions, make decisions. But oftentimes, just because of the order in which the actions come up, you have to make decisions without complete information. For example, you might know there are 2 enemies in your base, which you can see, and then you have to assign soldiers to fight and defend the base, not knowing if more aliens will then show up. Or you might have to assign scientists to research and make the decision on what to research and how many scientists to put on it, not knowing if you'll get the opportunity to research other things later in the turn, or that sort of thing. Yeah. So it's kind of rapid fire decision making, and it's almost like you're playing 4 different games, but all 4 of those games intersect in interesting ways. And you kind of have to make all these fast decisions with incomplete information, and then you end the time phase and go into a resolution phase where you kind of have to make do with the bed that you made, lie in the bed that you made, and try to resolve everything and get the best outcome out of the decisions that you made under pressure. And it's a really nice ebb and flow for the game. The other thing that's interesting about it, and I alluded to this off air, is they call it the push your luck system. Mm-hmm. So every time you roll for success, you also roll what they call an alien die, or a roll versus a threat. And the first time, it's an 8-sided die, and the first time only rolling a 1 or a critical miss will end your turn. If you want to roll again, a 2 or a 1 will end your turn. If you want to roll again, a 3 or 1, and so on up to 5. So basically, you can keep on trying to get successes as long as you want, but the chances that you're going to have a really bad thing happen to you go up each time. And so it's this decision of how badly do I want to succeed at this task this turn versus how badly do I need those resources for next turn. Mm-hmm. Or the resources assigned to that task. And there's several different variations on how that plays depending on what role you're filling, but it's just really really good, and it's hard to wrap your mind around. So you kind of go with your gut a lot, which is fun. But I asked Ben about it, and he actually mapped out the percentage chance for each thing. If you have to, if you decide you really want this thing to happen this turn, you're going to keep on rolling until you either get it or you're forced to stop rolling. What's the percentage chance that you'll get it? And so I've got that now, and that'll inform decision making. So that's pretty cool. Thank you, Ben.
No problem.
It's your cheat sheet.
Yeah.
The one thing to take into account, though, is that's like an overall probability. Once something happens, though, you'll have a new set of probabilities.
Yeah,
After the first roll.
You take one of the jelly beans out of the bowl of dice.
And then you ask, what was the jelly bean doing in the bowl of dice?
Yeah, where'd this rice come from?
Why is the rice six-sided?
Six-sided rice. There are only two kinds of rice, Ben.
Yeah, so I played through once. It was just me and Jen, and we each took 2 rolls. And the game actually has suggestions like, hey, if you're playing with 2 people, divide the rolls up this way. If you're playing with 3, divide the rolls up this way. And then 4, everyone gets 1 roll. So that's pretty cool. We beat the game, but we kind of got, we unfocused our eyes a little bit on the rules towards the end. There were some things that we really needed to do to win that maybe or maybe not definitely were outside of the rules, but we won. So that was the interesting thing about it being a co-op game, where you're just playing against the computer essentially.
So if you both agree to cheat, then it's fine.
Yeah, if you both agree to cheat, it's fine.
Well, to be fair, the aliens, challenge the humans, and cheating is human. So
yeah, well, no, really, what happened is like we beat the game, and it's like, yeah, all right, sweet, and then I kind of sheepishly, I'm like, well, I kind of put 3 tokens on this thing when I was only allowed to put 2 tokens on. And she's like, oh, really? Well, I kind of drew this card when I wasn't supposed to draw again. And we're like, we'll count it.
Close enough.
But it was really. Oh, go ahead.
So am I understanding correctly that there's no explicit combat system? You're just doing the plan. You're kind of the planner. There's no actual combat phase, or am I wrong?
Yeah. So the combat system is that there are 4 icons. Every soldier has 2 icons, one that they're specialized in. And then an alien may have any number of icons assigned to it. They might just have 1, they might have 2, they might have 3. And you can only attack an alien with a soldier that has the right icon. And then in certain situations, the specialized icon will give you a bonus. And so it's this game of, okay, how do I pick the right combination of soldiers to match the icons that I know, while still balancing for the icons that I don't know? Because sometimes the alien cards are played face down. And so you got to assign soldiers to fight them without knowing what you're going up against. And so it's like, hey, the tasks that I know, I can assign these guys who are specialized in it, and I know I'll get a big bonus on that, but I might just not be able to fight this alien once it's turned over, or do I try to have a more balanced squad?
But are the soldiers like moving around the board or anything like that?
No. It's purely dice rolls. Yeah, it's not. It does not resemble. Yeah, there is nothing resembling the tactical mode from the actual games.
So this isn't some like Arkham Horror level, let's spend 5 hours setting this up kind of shit?
No, there's a lot of setup to do, but once you get it running, it's pretty smooth.
How long does a particular game take?
We just left it out on our kitchen table and played it over the course of probably a week. So it's hard for me to say because we never sat down with the intention of we're going to finish the game. We played, I would say the first 3 rounds we played over the course of 3 days, and then we just sat down on the 4th day and finished the final 3 rounds in one go. And that probably took us like an hour. So I would say you can easily spend 2 hours playing this game all the way through.
Yeah, I think it took about 2 or 3 hours for the group that played last Saturday that I saw.
Yeah. So that it's super fun. I can't wait to play it again and play it with more people. And it's got the kind of depth where there's multiple invasion scenarios, and so there's so many different ways and variations on how to play the game that it'll last us a good long while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the XCOM stuff. I told someone on Twitter, I was talking about how deep an XCOM pit I've fallen down, and I said, you realize what this means is I can now say I'm tired of playing XCOM. I think I'll go play XCOM.
Yeah.
This is dangerous, guys.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing I've got another game to play, which I've been really enjoying, which is Delver.
Right.
And this is a first-person roguelike, and I specifically I really like Eldritch, and so I was trying to figure out what are other first-person roguelikes, and this one came up, and it's a lot of fun. It's a more old-school roguelike in that there's not like a huge sense of progression. Every time that you die, you kind of are back to square one, except for money. And the money will buy you some nice items that are good to have, but it won't buy you anything super permanent to make the game easier long run. So you get further in the game by getting better at it, which I really like. It feels good to advance, further than you ever have before, and say that's not because there's some number machine in the background making things easier for me.
Right.
It's because I've actually figured this out, and I know how to avoid the traps now, and I know how to interact with the different enemies now, and that's a really rewarding sense of progression.
Yeah, so it's not like a Rogue Legacy where you're kind of feeding a beast that makes it easier every time around.
Exactly, and it's not even like an Isaac where, hey, better items are more likely to show up. Mm-hmm. It's like I said, it's more old school in that sense. So that's it scratches that itch in a really good way. It's melee combat focused, I would say. But if you get a lot of spells early on, it can be very profitable to focus your character on magic. Mm-hmm. You just have to very carefully manage your inventory. And that's my one complaint, is that the inventory system is somewhat clumsy. There is, you've got your standard 5 quick select slots, but then there's just a big pool of items that you kind of open up a menu and have to try to find your way through. It doesn't pause the game while you're in the menu. So it's just, it's got that Dark Souls feeling of, shit, I need to get out of this menu because something's attacking me.
Yeah.
And that's not fun, especially because your character is relatively fragile. Mm-hmm. So that's my one complaint. But I like I said, I've been getting further and further each time. That feels good. And the art style of the game is really interesting, particularly the second area. It's kind of got a little bit of a Minecraft feel in that everything has a Minecraft feel these days.
Yeah.
But in that, it's kind of all square blocks building the world, but it looks like someone just kind of took it and shook it a little bit so that nothing quite right lines up. They're kind of jumbled a little bit. So it looks like Minecraft, but it's not. The blocks don't, are kind of a third on top of each other and half not, and which looks really cool. I like it. The only problem is that's for the natural areas, and that looks real cool. But when you get into more man-made structures, it kind of reverts right back to the Minecraft feel.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh. So talk to me about the combat. I know that's the second time I've said that this episode, but specifically like with, Minecraft and then the little bit of Eldritch that I've played, the combat isn't really the forte on those. Like there's no real sense of weight. Kind of feels like you're just clicking a button and the thing that you're holding is waving in front of you, which is exactly what's happening. And Eldritch gets around that by primarily being a stealth game. How does the combat feel in this? Is it still something you're trying to avoid, or does it lean on that kind of more than those other games do?
Yeah, it's unavoidable. You're going to have to do it. I wouldn't say it's anything special. It's very positioning focused. So you kind of have to know how long it takes your weapon to strike. And you can either click and do a quick strike, or you can hold down and charge up a strike. You almost always want to hold down because that guarantees a hit. Whereas I think if you just click it, there's a chance that you'll miss your swing. But then you got to know, based on the weapon that you're holding, that'll take a certain amount of time to actually hit. Yeah. And you got to manage your distance to the enemies that you're engaging as you charge up and then strike. So it's not bad by any means. And then you've got the magic system, like I said, which is it's very powerful because it's essentially a pistol, like it shoots forward. But it's very limited. So it's well balanced. It's all about positioning, especially when you get into areas with lots of cliffs and endless pits. The positioning gets even more delicate. It's like I said, I don't think it's anything special. I wouldn't sell the game based on it, but it's not quite Eldritch because you're not trying to sneak past people.
Okay.
but I wouldn't quite characterize it as like a focus of the game.
Okay. Do you see yourself playing it
I've
more?
really enjoyed it. Oh, absolutely. And this is one of those things where you can kind of just, because it's doesn't have that kind of perma progression, whatever, and you can just jump in, you know where you're starting from, and you know how far you might be able to get, and kind of you can sit down for one session really easily.
Right.
Yeah, that's my XCOM plus whatever else, which I anticipate will be how my playing will look for a while to come.
Understood.
Yeah.
Oh, Ben, how about you?
Yeah. So I finally beat Dragon Age.
Okay.
So, So where we left off last week in our Dragon Side Tales, I think last week I said I was going to go respec my character, and I figured out how to do that. So there's like good news and bad news. The good news is I figured out how to respec my character. The bad news is it pretty much broke the game in the sense that I did not die from then on. So it was a little bit of a disappointment. Like, I was a mage since the entire game or whatever, and they have 3 different classes that they can evolve into. One of them is like a necro mage, where they bring back dead people and have dead people fight for them. There's one I think is a rift mage, where they like similar, but they like pull stuff from the rift, which is like the undead place. Mm-hmm. And then there's the last one where it was a knight enchanter, where it basically just says, all right, mage class isn't that great. We're going to give you a sword, and you can just hit things with a sword instead. So I went with that class because I read it was pretty good. The problem with it is there's one of the powers is every time you hit something, a fraction of the damage that you do to it will come back to your shield, your barrier, essentially. Okay. So you can just swing at things and just not decrease in health. And like if you're doing enough damage, like the other thing can't hurt you faster than you're healing yourself by hurting them, if that makes sense. And so like every dragon fight from then on, I just wouldn't die because I would just stand next to him and keep hitting him with the sword. And it gets to a point where like the sword, it gets to a point where you can get your mana regeneration rate to be the same as how much it costs to use the sword attack. So you can just do infinite sword attack and not run out of magic. So
Ain't got time to bleed.
Yeah.
Are there attacks that ignore barrier and go straight to health?
Not that I found.
Huh.
They're like there's powers that you have that do like more damage against somebody else's barrier, but it didn't seem to work in reverse for any of the characters that I ran into. So yeah, it was kind of a bummer, kind of in hindsight. I mean, the story was cool and the rest of the game was cool. The final boss battle, without giving anything away, was kind of disappointing because it broke twice. One was AI breaking, but you couldn't kill the thing you were fighting all the way down. So you kind of got into a pose battle with it where it wasn't attacking you, but it was making gestures and kind of hovering around the place. But yeah, so that was kind of a bummer. And then another bug is it just straight up crashed in the middle of the final mission, so I had to restart it. So both of those were kind of bummers. But the story-wise, it was good and satisfying as far as an ending goes. And so I actually started a second playthrough. I don't know if I'm going to go all the way through it. I don't know how far I'll go in it, but yeah.
That's kind of funny that you were unintentionally doing some kind of challenge run.
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
I wouldn't have anticipated that just sticking with your stock class would make it that much harder, because like I would see that as an option. Like, oh, if you don't want to branch out, you can actually just kind of stay specialized and, you know, kind of like reap some kind of benefit. I would actually venture a guess to say that like that is as viable of an option, or even more viable of an option, to continue progressing that way.
Mm-hmm. So I would like to play as another specialization just to see how it compares, because I imagine not all of the specializations are broken like that. But
yeah, are you? Does the story have widely varying endings? So are you playing again, hoping to have a radically different result, or will it all kind of culminate in you killing the same big bad every time?
I don't want to say too much because it might give things away. So, yeah.
Do you anticipate that the endings will vary?
No.
Okay.
But the experience will.
Yeah, that's what
makes
matters.
sense. Yeah.
Huh.
Does that make sense? I don't know. Whatever. Yeah.
So that speaks to something. Like, are you the kind of person who will restart a game as soon as you beat it? Normally?
Apparently.
Yeah. Because that's not something that happens with me very often. And so I'm always curious when people say, like, I jumped right back in.
Yeah. I think I did that with like the Knights games because it would be like, okay, now I want to try a run through with this class and see what this feels like, So I think it depends on the game a lot of times. Mm-hmm. It's not often that I have that itch, I guess, but I don't know. It's also a terribly long game, so I don't know if I'll have the stamina. But yeah.
Do you think knowing the critical path and what's important and what's not now will help you get through it quicker?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, if you stay on like the main story missions, it's not a terribly long game. It's just that there's so many side things to do. And one of my complaints, I guess, is all the side missions kind of have a limited return on investment where like you might spend like 5 hours and you get like plus 10% fire resistance. And that's like, that's the only thing you get for that amount of work. Or there's some options that were kind of cool of like to upgrade your base essentially by getting a certain number of like items or plants and stuff, which was a cool idea. But again, like the return on investment just wasn't there. So like you could upgrade like your garden, for example, but it didn't really do much, I don't know. So I don't know. There are cool ideas there, but I don't know if the follow through was there, but I don't know if the payoff was there. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I'm happy to hear you beat it.
Yeah.
And that you liked it. I mean, to have spent that much time on it and still be satisfied by the ending, I think that speaks a certain amount about it.
Yeah. If you started it again, you can't have hated it too much.
Yeah. I still don't know if I would call it Game of the Year, though.
Yeah.
But I don't know what other games I would put above it. But
that was going to be my next question. Like, not to be like contentious, but like, I'd just be curious to hear. But
yeah, it was a pretty weak game for years. Yes.
But like we had like Shovel Knight and stuff. It was actually really good.
I haven't played that though. Oh. It was a pretty weak year for console games. Let's say that. Yeah.
Huh. I would recommend it. I think you can get it on PS4 or PS3 or one of those. It is an available game.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to do a short one just because I've been involved with reading Choose Your Own Adventure books and playing Lords of the Fallen for other assignment stuff in this Q1 that is just a complete fucking nightmare for managing time. Yeah. But I've put in a little bit of time with a game called Gods Will Be Watching.
Okay.
So this is a game that is published by Devolver Digital, the guys who at least published Hotline Miami. They did Hatful Boyfriend and just kind of been killing it recently with kind of these really inventive indie games. And Gods Will Be Watching is kind of a more mechanics-driven adventure game, right? Where you're kind of playing out these really, really stressful situations. And you're making choices within those, kind of trying to manage different factors about them as story is revealed through these. So kind of the idea is you're playing out the struggle between a terrorist group or a revolutionary group, depending on what that is, called the Xenolifers. This is a sci-fi story, trying to liberate this virus from this research kind of facility. To be honest, I'm not that in love with the writing. It is a particular stripe of sci-fi that is like, I care more about the xenomorphs than about the Weyland-Yutani Corporation or whatever, just, like it isn't really hitting home for me. Like there are moments where the writing feels really believable, but the dialogue is not one of those. And kind of the setup is doing a very difficult job of making me care.
So it's not bad enough that you're straight up skipping it yet.
Right. But so it's weird because like the straight up like explicit expositional storytelling is not that great so far as I've seen, because it's a bunch of just kind of like what I would consider to be a standard sci-fi. Or basic sci-fi, if I was going to use the hip lingo of the kids these days. But the actual like moment-to-moment little stories are carried out very well by the acting that is done in the art right through these animations. So when I say like stressful situations, I'm talking about like the first level is a hostage negotiation. So
what is the mechanics behind that?
Who are you in this situation?
Yeah, you're the bad guys. You are the person who is responsible for making sure that the authorities don't encroach down this hallway, and so you are having to keep them back by either shooting at them or threatening them. But if you shoot, then your hostages start freaking out. And you can see that like visually, and you can actually hear them speaking. You can see like little text about them like, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a break for it. I'm going to run for it. And you have to like check their postures and stuff like that as they're going about it. If one of them looks really close to freaking out, you can send them over to the break room to like chill out. Which is like, okay, I'm going to separate you from the group because you seem to be agitating everybody. We're going to send you
Play
over
some
there.
ping pong.
Yeah,
Go have some donuts. Yeah.
yeah. I think there's some.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, thank you. Thank you. I will.
Yeah, here's
This is the most
I
courteous
can feel
hostage
the
situation
Stockholm
I've been involved
syndrome
with.
already.
yeah. Here's $1 for the Coke machine. Sometimes it sticks. Don't worry. Just come get the it eats it. Yeah. But if you leave them there for too long, what happens is they gain the courage and they make a plan and they come and attack you, and you have to shoot one of them, and that really freaks the other guys out.
Ooh, wow.
Okay. And so like you will, like what happens is you'll send somebody over to the break room and forget that they're there as you are, trying to manage the encroaching guards who are coming up on the barricade that you have set up. Notwithstanding the fact that while this is happening, like what you're trying to do is fend everybody off while you are downloading this research. You have a guy who's doing the hacking and you have another guy who is running the security, and there is an action you can take that like charges the super hack kind of thing, but that lowers your security. And so as that drops, if your security gets low enough, you'll start losing progress on the hack. So you have to manage that as well. And just like occasionally will freak out. And so while you're issuing the command to say like, okay, repair the security hole and also charge this up, that's when a hostage will like, make a break for it. Right. And so you have to make a choice to either like beat the shit out of them, talk with them, or, just like do any other kind of like coercion. And so it's this massive plate spinning game in order to, make sure that there's not a failure state that's reached. And there's a little story that's revealed through dialogue, through each of these. And when I say acting in this, the character design is fantastic. Like the look of this game is kind of a chunky pixel look. That if I had to, kind of qualify it, it would be like if the characters in Super Brothers Swords and Sorcery were a little bit bigger and a little bit more detailed. Right.
Okay.
Nice.
But they carry a lot of like, there's tons of like unique animations, and you can tell just by looking at some of these hostages or some of these people. Hostages are people, Cole. Like exactly where they're at, and that is kind of a tremendous testament to the decisions that they made, intentionally placing those pixels and conveying that like, yes, this guy is sweating or he's bleeding because I've kicked him too much, stuff like that. So yeah, and this, like that, it is an adventure game with mechanics, and it is the first adventure game that I've seen that has an explicit difficulty meter. And I've only gotten to the second level because it is incredibly difficult on the standard difficulty, right? Like stuff will just go away like that. The time limit that you have to work with is incredibly long. There's a lot of like randomization in play. So I had to switch over to the easier one, but you can even go down to like one where it's straight up just story. You can go down to one where it's like puzzle mode, where you're just trying to figure out what you need to do in what order. So there's a lot of variation that's happening in each individual thing. And I thought like, hey, this is going to be a series of hostage negotiations. But no, the second stage, I don't know how much of a spoiler this is. It's a flashback, and it is you are being interrogated. So you have to manage, like, there's a list of questions that your interrogator is trying to get through. And if you answer all of them, they'll kill you because there's not, they have no more use for you. After a certain number of days, somebody decides they break in, but they can't break you out. and you just make a decision. Okay, bring me painkillers so I can withstand more torture. Bring me med kits so I can so I can stay alive longer, or bring me information so I can lie more convincingly. And you have like these two dudes, and you have like a health meter that says, like, okay, if I beg, they're going to beat the shit out of me. If I lie and they find me out, they're going to hurt me more. Hurt me more. And so it's just managing how quickly you take this down. In fact, it is a really Metal Gear kind of thing. I know I made that goof, but you can just straight up die. And I've only gotten like 3 or so stages into it, but they go from punching you in the face. They go from punching you in the face to dental torture pretty damn quick.
Wow.
It's intense, right? But it's in this kind of like lo-fi sense. And so that carries, just like the animations and stuff that they put you through, carry so much more pathos and kind of information than anything they say explicitly. And I don't know if that's a failing of their exposition and dialogue and stuff like that, or if that is a success of their animation.
Yeah.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, it's intense. I'm on the border of saying it's interesting in that way that makes it a qualified recommendation. It seems like something that would crop up on a Humble Bundle here, like it came out like last year. In that case, it is definitely a curiosity. I'm going to continue dipping into and dipping out of it. I was kind of burned by the difficulty on it, but I learned not to be ashamed of that. And even on easy, it's still really hard.
So do you think that's going to persist, though, where every stage is like a different point in this person's life, and it'll be a completely different challenge? Or
I hope so.
Yeah.
I want to see how he does without those teeth.
Jeez.
Is it something that's you kind of are saving after every decision and kind of are trying to puzzle your way through it, or is it just managing resources?
It's managing resources.
So if you're going to start over, you'll start over from the beginning of the level.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So did he have teeth in the hostage situation?
I don't know. I couldn't tell. But they're using like these crazy like dental forceps kind of things. It looks like a wrench to like pull teeth out. And it's obviously a white pixel that comes like it's crazy. Like and it's
Hammer.
It is a very stressful game, and like that is what it trades on, right? And so stress as a game mechanic is something that I'm kind of into, and this does it very well. But not because of anything that it's saying about the Medusa virus or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, that's what I've been playing.
Very cool.
Cool.
So you're going to take the painkillers, Cole?
Maybe, I don't know. Like, so after each stage, it kind of like rates you on your behavior, and it shows like roughly what other people did. And when I failed out of the interrogation one, it said like what was your disposition? It was like suicidal. I was like, yeah, I did provoke them a lot. Because I didn't know what the stakes were. Like, I didn't realize that this guy would come down and say, I need you to survive for 20 days. So I was like, oh, devil may care. I'm just going to get him. I'm going to avoid answering these questions for as long as possible. So it's kind of playing chicken with it, right? Yeah.
Playing chicken with dental torture.
You guys want to button it up?
Sounds good.
What if nobody answered that question, Cole?
We keep going on.
Then we would lose the illusion that we have a choice.
Yep.
The credit.
So thank you so much for listening. I don't know what we have in the way of admin. I think when you're listening to this, there's still going to be time to pick up a Watch Out for Fireball shirt. If you have any ideas for like level goofs that you would want to see on one of those in the future, I am more than happy to design one. Yeah. But there's the usual stuff, Facebook and whatnot. Am I missing anything, guys, aside from reviews and telling friends? We had some nice reviews here recently. Thank you.
Oh, good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Suggestions for level 100. Any ideas or thoughts, things you would like to see? We love incorporating your suggestions.
Definitely. So, yeah, I have been Cole Ross, at Cole Ross on Twitter.
I've been Dennis Furia, at dfuria on Twitter.
I will be David Moneysmith at Moneysmith777 on Twitter.
And I am Ben Merkel at Merkelizer on Twitter.
Yeah. And until next time, don't play chicken with dental torture.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, yep.
Because it involved dental torture, which is my favorite phrase. It's so evocative. It's great. The other like the runners ups were you were going to talk about facts and passive digressive. So
Nice.
I went to an office where I saw standing desk with like it's like a Saturn looking ball. Like there's a ball with like a ring around it, and you stand on the ring part.
oh
and,
no.
And you just are constantly moving while at a standing desk.
Wasn't that a toy? It was like a hippity hopper bounce kind of thing. I remember playing with those when I was a kid.
Maybe so. I don't know.
So that's the standing desk equivalent of the terrible yoga ball as the chair.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Oh, that is tragic, Ben.
Do you not like the sitting yoga ball?
I've tried them, and
Yeah.
they're fine. Except I like something that if I'm going to sit down, it has like some firm back support to it.
Mm-hmm.
Either that, or I'm going to go with a stool, which is not something you get with a yoga ball. That, and we had a bunch of them around the office. And because floors are not entirely uniform, they all just kind of migrated every day. And my part of the office was the lowest part topographically. So you would come in every morning and there would just be a shitload of yoga balls right in front of the desk.
Time to round up the yoga balls.
Yep, yeehaw.
Yeah.
Rawhide.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had our experiment with them, and now they're all gone. Some of them were killed violently with scissors.
They were wrangled out of the office.
Yep.
Get on now, get.
We skinned them and made leather of their rubbery hides.
That's dark, man.
Yeah, we let the ghost out.
You guys are real mountain men over there in Cincinnati, it seems.
We use every part of the yoga ball.